hear me, right? So maybe we'll start in another 2 minutes, maybe
Okay.
4, 5. Okay.
Okay.
You can see the screen well, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we can start. We'll look at these. So for today, the major focus is going to be on the letter writing. So we're going to look at what and how a formal letter is written. Not informal, because that's not something that we have to discuss as a part of the professional writing. So we look at formal letters, and we'll also refer to something called as a semi-formal letters, not very different from the formal letter in terms of its structure or the way you organize and present it. But there could be very, very small differences, especially with regards to how you address somebody, how you close the letter, etc. Right? So we'll have a quick look at that, but mostly the discussion is going to be on the formal letters. Okay, so we're going to discuss different types of formal letters, within which the major one that I'm going to discuss is the job letter application, which is also referred to as the cover letters. Okay, so that is for today, but we'll look at whatever types that are available to us in terms of letter writing. So we know what letter writing is, what a letter is, right? So for this one, we are majorly going to discuss about the letters that are business letters. Okay, so keep this in mind. All those business letters, as in the letters that you write in the business spaces, they are formal in nature. What do we mean by formal? They use formal language and formal style, right? However, all letters that you write, all the formal letters are not business letters. Okay, business letters follow a different format in its presentation, mostly owing to the fact that they are written by different business organizations. So what does that mean? We basically just mean that every business organization will use their own templates, right, to say write to send somebody an appointment letter, or say give someone a relieving order, right? So they will have their own individualized, customized, or personalized templates to do that. However, you will see that there are things within the letter which has to follow the standards of a formal letter, the conventions of a formal letter, right? There could be changes here and there in terms of the way they have presented, right? The organization of the organization of some information in the letter. They could take their own liberty of making the changes, but certain things, no matter whether you're writing a business letter or any other kind of formal letters, all of them will have to follow the standard conventions that's applied to formal letter writing. So we'll see what those things are. So formal letters, it could be business letters like inquiry letter or complaint letter, or it could also be something like a recommendation letter, which is formal letter but not a business letter. Similarly, cover letter, it is also a formal letter, right? But it's not a business letter. However, inquiry letter, complaint letter, purchase, right? All of them can be what you can call as business letters. So the purposes could be then, therefore it could be for, yes?
Yeah, formal letter is completely different from business letter, or business letter
Not
is
completely different. So that's what I'm saying. All business letters are formal letters. Okay, whereas
okay.
all
Just
formal
business letter is the part of a formal letter.
yes, yes. It's a business letters are written in the formal
Yeah.
way, right?
Okay.
There can be, which basically means that there are parts of business letter when you write one, which has to follow the overall standard conventions that you use to write a formal letter. But there could be some variations with respect to the organization that's writing it, you know, certain people, like for example, when a private company writes a letter, it follows a certain convention. They have more liberty of how they utilize the template that they have. But say if something comes off from a government office, then they follow a very different system. But that's also again a business letter. So the difference would be that in a business letter, depending on who the head is or what the organization decides, certain things can be rearranged or certain things can be decided by those organizations, whether governmental or non-governmental, right? But as far as the formal aspect of the business letter is concerned, there are conventions which business letter has to follow, which is a part of the convention of the formal letter, which is why largely a business letter is considered a formal letter, right? But formal letters in general, they have their own conventions, which in general they have to follow. The business spaces, the one that people do in the business organization is not applicable to them, or it doesn't have to be applicable to them, right? So that is the difference. Okay, so yes, business letters are part of formal letters, but not the other way around. Yeah, so the purposes could be anything ranging from, you know, inquiry, reference, invitations, proposals, right? Making a complaint, apologizing, sending in a quotation, right? Placing an order, it could be anything, right? All of them would then be treated as, you know, letters that are written for formal purposes, right? Now, what rules do you have to, rules or guidelines, if you would like to call them? Of course, all of them will have a specified format, right? So in case of a business letter, then the company can decide the template and the based on how they have to write it, right? Especially the layout. When I say the company can decide the template, what I'm referring to is the layout.
Called letterhead, right?
Yeah, letterhead, yes. Letterhead, even, you know, you don't have to be a company to use a letterhead. Even if you're, say, a private consultant, you usually write a letterhead. What I mean is about the layout. So you have something called the modified layout, modified block layout, right? This is what I mean. So for governmental organization, usually what they do is they use a semi block layout or a modified block layout. What does it mean? I'll show you the example of what that layout is, and then you'll understand it better. Whereas, you know, something like a leave application that you are sending into your organization, right? Or a complaint letter, or say a grievance letter that you're writing to your organization, will follow the block layout only. It does not follow the modified block layout. So for that, you have to understand the difference between both of them. So I will show you, I'll show you a model of that, so you will understand it better. So yeah, so no unnecessary words and phrases basically means that you need to keep your language concise, right? The not language, your content needs to be concise to make sure that you don't use irrelevant phrases. What are relevant phrases? The ones that do not add to what you want to say in your write-up, right? If it simply sits there without doing any work, okay? Especially, you know, phrases like due to the fact that, okay, because of the fact that, okay. So instead of saying due to the fact that, you can simply say because, right? So these are called cluttering phrases, or wordy phrases, which unnecessarily increases the length of your write-up, but actually does not add anything to the meaning of what you're writing. So this is again one major feature of all formal writing. So the formal language needs to be concise. We looked at it in the very beginning of the session, where we discussed what formal style means. So then that is applicable to the formal letter too. Okay, so no writing unnecessary words and phrases. Straight and to the point. So straightforward, direct language. Language needs to be very specific. It shouldn't be vague, right? It shouldn't use phrases or words or terms that could confuse your reader. Know your audience, who you're writing to, only if you're sure that the audience would understand what the phrases and the words you use. You know, if you are including too much technical terms in your write-up, then make sure that you're writing to an audience who identifies with it and who understands it. If not, then try and simplify. Simplification does not mean overwriting. The language still needs to be specific, but you will have to remove some jargon and some, you know, undefined terms from your writing. That's what it means. Relevant and objective, of course, the tone needs to be objective. You cannot use emotional tone, so you can't make an emotional appeal through your formal letter or email or notice or whatever you're writing, right? Personalized emotional tones are not allowed in formal writing. Try to cut down on the usage of personal pronouns too much. Okay, using too much of I and you and we is not something that is appreciated in formal writing. So what do you do instead? You use third person, right? Third person pronouns, impersonal tone, right? Language should be free of biases, right? Make sure that you do not include anything that discriminates anybody on the basis of their race or gender or color, right? Caste, religion, anything. Nothing should be a part of the formal language which gives hints of discrimination against a person or a community, right? So these are all part of a formal language. One needs to keep all of them in mind. And when you mean objective tone and personal tone in writing, this is what we refer to. Okay. Complex and thorough, which means that, you know, whatever you want to write, it should be represented. If required, you should be able to add details. However, those details should be represented in direct language. Okay. Then polite, even if writing a complaint letter. So no matter how difficult the part you want to represent is, no matter how tough a task you have to explain to someone, whether, you know, it could be, this usually happens at workplaces. You're not happy with something, you have a grievance, you have a complaint, but no matter how grave that situation is, your tone or your mode cannot be non-composed and angry, right? It still needs to be represented in a very polite manner as much as possible, right? So you cannot vent or you cannot lash out at people or complain too much or whine in your letters. So you have to keep your language still polite, no matter how big the problem you face at work is, right? So the last one is related to the editing proofreading part, which comes under the revision, right? Once you have written, you have your first draft with you, then what you're going to do is you're going to edit, proofread, revise your document. So what do you look for? You look for grammatical errors, spelling errors, punctuation errors. You look at the formatting, right? Have you used the specified alignment? Have you used the specified font size, right? Have you used the correct font type? Right? Is your spacing properly done? Have you used the headings properly? If it's a report or a proposal, have you used the page numbers properly? Have you titled them well? So all of this formatting, punctuation, grammar, spelling, right? All of them is then the last part that's involved in the guidelines for writing any kind of formal write-up, okay? Not just letters. So this is about it. And now we'll look at the parts of a formal letter. Okay. How can you arrange them? What's the organization? What is the arrangement of various parts in a letter? This is very important. A lot of people make mistakes, particularly with respect to first 4 fields, right? The from address, date to address, and subject. Even the salutation, like some people, what they do is they write the subject after the salutation. So this is not how you write it in the formal letters. The order needs to be exactly how it is represented on the screen, right? So you first write the from address. Now, in letterheads, this format could be a little different because letterheads, they already have the name of the organization and their address and contact on it. So sometimes what happens, you can, if you're writing on a letterhead, obviously you're not going to include the first field. So what you do is you directly start from the date, right? But even then, even if you're writing on the letterhead, the order that you see here does not change. It's just that you don't include the from address because it is already there on the head. But everything else remains same. The order remains same for even a letterhead. In the absence of a letterhead, if you're drafting one on your own, say something that you've drafted at your workplace for a personal purpose, then the letter has to begin with a from address field, and the thing that's written in bracket, that's very important, not more than 3 lines. Okay, your address has to be just a representative one. Okay, you don't have to give every single detail about you when you're writing a formal letter, right? If that is required, obviously they will have any such purpose that requires you to file in your address properly with all the details would have a different field for that. They will definitely ask you for one. Okay, or if not, then these days what people do is they ask you to file a proof, address proof, which could be one of your ID cards. But the letter is not the place for you to write every single detail in your address, which street, which lane, not really important. That is more for a representative purpose, to know more about you and your placement, right? Than knowing exactly where you live. So that field does not sit here, sit in the letter for the reader to know where you are from and what exactly your location is, right? So keep in mind that you don't occupy too much space to write your address. Ideally, it should not take up more than 3 lines, right? 2 should be ideal, but in case if you want to write more, then in case you're not able to stop it at 2, then 3, but definitely not more than that, right? So not more than 3 lines. So that's your from address. When you're writing the from address, one more important thing is you don't have to write the word from. Okay, don't write from and then the address. From need not be written, just straight away write your address. Don't mention the word from there. Not required. It is understood. People know that. Because all of this is taking up space in your letter. So you'll write from, then a comma, then you'll shift to the next line and then start writing your address, take another 3 line. So much of space and so much of length as such is not something that is expected of you while you're writing a formal letter. And sincerely, nobody reads it, right? These are all actually irrelevant piece of information in that letter. Nobody would consider sitting and reading the whole of your address or everything else. So please make sure that you don't add this from there. You so simply, straight away write your address in 3 lines, not more than 3 lines. Then comes the date, right? Definitely after the from address, you have the date, and there is a format in which you should be writing your date for a formal letter, and that is this. Okay, so either so with respect to the last part, 2018, these days some people skip writing the whole of the all the 4 digits. Some people would simply write 22. That's also allowed, but a more formal and a better method would always be to write the date in this format, right? So you write the date, then the month completely, no shorthands, and then the year, right? So date, month, and year in this format. So you're not allowed to write 9/09/2018, right? That format is not allowed. You have to expand the month. You have to write the name of the month completely. And with respect to year, you have an option of writing just the last 2 digits of the year, but it is always better and more formal if you can write it in full. Okay. So 9 September 2018. Okay. 6 June or 30 June 2022. That should be a better way to write in a formal letter. Then
in
yes.
date, we can add th or second, like ND or not.
THR.
Yeah, like 6th. So after 6th.
That one. No. That is not required because it's not 6th September. You're writing the date is 6. It's not 6th.
Okay.
Right. So format should be this.
Okay.
TH and ST and RD, those superscripts that you use is not allowed in the formal writing. You should stay away from it. Not like a grave mistake, but then it's not appreciated. Okay, not formal enough.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Then comes the to address, right? Again, the same thing that I've told you about the from address. So you not write the word to, you straight away write the address. Okay. And again, the same rule for as you've seen in the case of from, not more than 3 lines. Okay. Don't occupy too much space to write that too. The next one is the one of the most important fields in all formal letters. Do not forget to include the subject. Okay. Like you see in an email, right? When you look at an email and its structure, all emails will have one field for subject, right? Emails have them because emails are actually modeled after letters, right? They are the modern day letters. People don't write letters anymore. Most of even the formal communication, business world has started using email as its major medium of communication. So it is mostly modeled after your letter. So you will see a lot of overlap and similarities between the structure and format of email and letter, even with respect to the kind of expressions and phrases that you use to write an email or a letter. You'll see several similarities between both of them. The simple reason being, email has actually replaced the letter, being the quickest and shortest form of communication. So you will definitely see a lot of similarities in several of these fields that you have in letter and email. So subject, what does it say? Not more than one sentence in length. It should talk about the purpose of the letter or why of the letter, right? What does the subject line do? The purpose of the subject line is to declare the purpose. Why am I writing it? Am I writing it with respect to, the interrupted water supply in my society? Is it because of the interrupted power supply in the locality that I live? Is it because of something else, right? Whatever it is, your purpose, or am I writing, an application towards 2 days of leave from work, right? Anything, okay? Am I applying to get a recommendation letter from a professor? All of that becomes a that they all qualify as purposes of writing the letter. So that particular thing has to go into the subject field. And how do you do that? Look at what is written, not more than one sentence in length. In fact, when you're writing the subject line, you can resort to writing just the keywords also, right? It does not have to be a fully grammatical, good sounding sentence. Even if you're writing one, make sure that your subject line does not exceed. I will not talk about subject line in terms of sentence. It's better to say that make sure that your subject line does not exceed more than 6 or 7 words, right? So don't write like a detailed, I am, writing this letter for so and so. That you would do after you start writing the letter. The introductory part of your letter is basically that, telling the reader, why you are writing the letter. But don't replicate that. Don't copy that into your subject line. Subject line is similar to that first line, introductory line that you would write in your letter, but much shorter than that. Okay, maybe just keywords, a few words, 6 or 7 words of the same sentence. So then a better idea to write subject line is to write it at the end. Once you have written your letter and you have the work at hand, you have the whole of the matter at hand, you can read it once and figure out what your purpose is and just use the keywords that you've used in the letter to place in the subject field. Okay, so that way it's better. You can keep your subject line concise if you write it at the end. Right. So the next part is salutation. Very, very important, especially in formal letters. People can be really annoyed if you do not use proper salutation to address them, right? So salutation, you need to keep in mind few things in formal letters. The first thing is know who you are writing to. Okay. And what do we mean by know who you are writing to? Assess the familiarity between the person whom you are writing and yourself, right? So do you know the person really well? Or do you know the person, but you're not like very, well acquainted with each other. You just know each other. Or is this somebody who's a stranger? You haven't met this person. You haven't talked to this person any time before. So there is zero familiarity between you two. However, you have to write to them for some purpose. Is that the case? Second thing, who are you writing to? Are you writing to a person who's a man? Are you writing to someone who's a woman, or are you writing to someone who do not identify with both of the gender, somebody else, right? So all of these are sensitive, right? You are in letter and email, you're writing to real people. So need to be really careful about how you address them, right? Do not, apply the blanket dear sir for everybody. It's very much possible that you're writing to a woman and nobody likes being addressed as dear sir if you are a woman. That also shows that you're biased, right? It can be offensive to people. It might send out a message that you think that you find only men at workplace, and some people can really be offended by coinages like that, by usages like that. So just ensure, and in case you're not sure, for example, sometimes what happens, you're not sure whether somebody is whether you're writing to a man, woman, or someone else, right? So somebody from the third gender. So in such cases, you can use neutral terms, right? So you can simply say, dear so and so. So you can either say dear sir or madam. Okay. Or if you're unsure about that part also, you can simply write to whomsoever it may concern, right? So this is one phrase that you can use there. If you're not at all sure, okay, you're not sure whether this is one person or is it two person, is it one person or more than one person, is it a man or a woman, or is it someone with a third gender, right, who identifies with the third gender. In such cases, when you're absolutely not sure about these things, then you can, instead of writing dear and the other part, okay, you can skip that part and you can simply write to whomsoever it may concern, right? So that solves your problem. But in case there is some kind of familiarities, again, there are certain conventions that you can use, which is dear. Now, this word dear, this is a very neutral term in English. This does not shows, this is not a word that shows endearment towards somebody. Very neutral term, completely professional to use them in any formal letter. Okay, there is nothing wrong with that. So dear can be followed by titles such as Miss, Mr., Miss, Doctor, Prof. Okay, whichever one is suitable for your purpose. Just one thing, stay away from using the Mrs. title. Okay, so that is a little outdated. People do not use the Mrs. title anymore in formal sphere. You can simply stick with Miss, MS. Okay, so MIS is Miss and MS are different. MS is used for people, for women who are unmarried, and MISS could be for any woman. right? So if you aren't sure, MISS is a safer choice, right? So you can go with that, but do not use Mrs. Okay, that is a little outdated in letter writing, formal letter writing these days. Doctor, professor, you don't have to follow your titles with a dot, right? Initially, people used to write MS dot, MR dot, Mr. dot, Miss dot, okay, doctor dot, prof dot. That is not required. Don't use those period marks after the title. You can simply write dear Miss, Mr., Miss, Dr., Prof, last name or full name. Okay, so in professional letters, either you follow up the title with the last name or you write the full name. Okay, first name, usually it's better that you stay away from addressing somebody with their first name in formal emails, right? That can be reserved for informal email or letter, right? Informal letters, the better method would be to use the last name of the person or the full name. If you are aware of the full name, then use the full name. Okay. And yes, and if you're referring to more than one person, you think you have a set of people, then dear all, right? You're addressing a group, dear all. Okay, that's one thing. But that can only be the case in an email, right? In a letter, you cannot be addressing too many people. So for the purpose of the letter, the one that you see on the screen should be enough for you to understand. Now, then comes the next part, which is the body, right? Now, what is the body? Body usually for any forms of, in any form of writing, you can divide it into three. So you definitely for any form of writing, you need to have an introduction and conclusion and the body. That is definitely there for everything, right? So the same thing applies to letter also. But the conventions that you use to write, an introduction or body and conclusion can be different based on what you write. So in letter, there are some, both letter and emails, you would see some set expressions that people use to begin the letter, begin the email, close it, end the letter, and end the email. You can use, if you are a good, if you're confident enough with your language, then you can try and experiment with the words and phrases and come up with new ones. But if you're not very confident at this point to be an independent user, then we definitely have certain set expressions that we use, right? So you can make use of them. Introduction mostly because that particular the first 2 or 3 sentences that you write in the introduction is basically you telling the person about the purpose why you're writing, right? So it can begin with I'm writing, what is it? I'm writing to inform you about, okay? Or I'm contacting you for the following reason, right? Or you can say that I am writing to confirm, right? If it is a confirmation email, I'm writing to inquire about, I'm writing to bring to your attention that. So anything, depending on what your purpose is, you can use the set expression of I'm writing to and the active verb, whatever your letter or email is about. Okay. Or, a little more confident about using the language, you say, you're trying to get some information from someone. You could also alternatively begin with, I recently heard about so-and-so and would like to talk to you about so-and-so, right? All of this is possible. All depends on how confident are you and how ready and willing are you to use the language. So till the time you get some practice with it, it is always good that you start off with the set expressions. And once you have gained some control on that, then of course you are free and you have all the liberty to make use of the language at hand. What should be the salutation if writing to company emails, you don't know who is reading it? Okay. Sir or madam should be a good way, dear sir or madam. Or you can begin it with, like I said, to whomsoever it may concern. Right? If you're absolutely unsure about who you're writing, like do not know the person's name, you do not know the title, you do not know which person, male, female, I mean, man, woman. Okay. If nothing is available, then to whomsoever it may concern. But if you know the title and designation and all that, some kind of familiarity, then a good way would be to start with dear sir or madam. Okay. In the case when you do not know whether it's a sir or madam, if you're sure, then please use them as it is. Okay. Don't know anything, then to whomsoever it may concern. Okay, Priyanka. Yeah. Okay, so that's about the introductory part, right? So which is basically your purpose, right? The place where you are going to tell the reader about the purpose. Now the second, the obvious part after the introduction paragraph or introduction sentences would be your body. This is the meat of your letter or your email or whatever you're writing, right? So you're going to include all the details. This is basically the space which takes up the details of what you want to say. So if you're writing about the interruption in a power supply in your society, you're going to give the details. What happened? Okay. What time? What exactly happened? Did something wrong happen before that? Do you think it is a short circuit? Do you think something else? Or has this been the case from some time? What have you done before it? What actions have been taken on it? Anything, right? Whatever details, whatever you want to add to make your claim strongly goes into the body of the paragraph, body of the letter, right? Or email, anything. I keep saying email or letter because a lot of these things that used to happen over letter has now been shifted onto the email communication, except for a few, right? Except if it's if it is highly confidential, something that should not be there on internet because things on internet are not safe. So only in cases like that is letter more preferred. But for most of the purposes and needs, these days people have made a shift to, they've made a transformation from letter to email, right? So which is why, what is this also? Can we start with their team of the concerned organizations? Is their team IITM for writing to support at this is correct. Team IITM, you don't have to refer to the team as IITM because IITM is a larger organization, right? So your organization is not IITM unless it is something that concerns the IIT Madras as a whole. There is no need of addressing it to them, right? So whoever is supposed to address your problem is the person who should be address. That is the person who you should address. Okay. If it is something that is relating to the institute as at large, then you can use IITM. In this case, you can remove IITM. Right? There is nothing called team IITM. You have small groups and teams within this who would be definitely in charge of taking up the task that you want them to. So dear team should be enough. Okay. Or if you want to be more specific, if you're using like a larger forum which has multiple teams, then every team will have a name. You can use that name, team's name, and then tag them, right? Use them in the salutation. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's about the body. So basically, all details and elaborations go in there. Now the conclusion part for letters, they usually, what happens if you're talking about a paragraph and all, the concluding part is basically where you restate or you re-emphasize, reinforce what has already been said till now. But for letter and emails, it's a little different. You don't have to repeat what you have already said because remember, these are concise writing zones, right? You don't write too much. You're not allowed to write too much, in fact, for both emails and letter. You do not give a count as such. Some people would tell you 60 to 80 for an email, 100 to 150 for a formal email. This is not something that you need to strictly follow. However, the message is that please keep it concise, keep it as short as possible. Write only what is relevant. Don't write, don't give in details that are not, which would not help you in getting your task achieved, right? So only write the things that you think are relevant to the person who's reading it, only the one that would help them to take whatever action you want them to do. Do not include too many things and waste their time, because this is something that mostly happens at a workplace, right? These are examples of workplace communication. So no one has that kind of time to sit and read lengthy emails, lengthy letters. So the conclusion part then is usually just a sentence or two, wherein, if you have, if you do not have anything, you simply close it off. You just give a closing remark, like, I look forward to hear from you. I will meet you on so and so. Okay, what is this? See you next week or on Monday. The phrases that you see on the screen. You can use one of them and just end the letter or email as such. Okay, so this is usually to save the letter or email from an abrupt ending. Okay, it should not look like, there's a sudden snap to what you were writing. So just to give it a proper closure, you add this closing remarks there. But it can also be your ending sentence, the closing sentence of the letter or email could also be something like a suggestion or recommendation. Okay, it could also be that, like, look at the last one, call me if you need anything. This is also, something like, you can add a statement like this. You can include a suggestion. It can be a statement which talks about an action that you want the person to take, right? So it can be something like a suggestion or recommendation too. In the absence of any of this, right, if you're just trying to close the sentence, close the email or letter, right, for the sake of formality, you can also use, if that's the case, then you can use the phrases that go before that, like, see you soon, looking forward to hear from you, looking forward for your call, see you next week, see you soon. Okay, all of them can be used as rounding off statements, closing remarks, right? Then comes the last part, which is the complementary clause, which is signing off, right? So again, it has formalities. For formal letters, you can use any of these. The first two are more formal than the last two. Warm regards, kind regards, they are formal, less formal, but professional. Okay, you can absolutely use them in your professional emails or letters, no problem with that, but they're not as formal as the first two. Yours sincerely and all that, they're extremely formal, right? So the only difference is with respect to the range of formality, but otherwise all of those expressions can be used. They're all professional, so nothing wrong in using them. Okay, so is that understood? Any questions that you have? Okay, yeah, anybody, any questions? Priyanka, I see your hands up. Do you have a question? Still here, Priyanka? Okay. So this is about the parts of a formal letter. Now, what I want you to do is quickly look at the.
Ma'am?
Yes, go ahead. Who is this?
Yeah, in this,
Manish.
Manish this side. Yeah. In the introductory part, like you have told that some phrase from which we can start. So another one thing, like sometimes I am writing like it is regarding the concern and then identifying that concern. It is okay.
It is regarding. No.
Yeah, it is regarding.
It is regarding is not. So the problem with the formal writing is that some of the expressions, although not wrong, may not be considered formal enough to be used in that place, right? Which is why it is good that you start off your letters with those set expressions, like the one that I discussed with you, right? I am writing to inquire about, I'm writing to inform. Okay. Or I am what else, I mean, based on your purposes. So I'm writing to confirm, I'm writing to express my regrets regarding, right?
Okay.
So
mostly I'm writing the mails to another person, another department.
yeah.
So in that case, I'm using it very fluently.
What are you using?
In mails to different department. So it is regarding the concern, that concern I'm writing that
Yes.
mail.
I get that part. No matter who you're writing to, this should be the convention that you should follow while writing, because that makes your writing formal. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. Okay.
So it is
Thanks.
regarding the problem is can sound a little rude, right, to some people and a little inappropriate because you're directly jumping onto what you want.
Yeah.
You're not giving it any proper opening. So there's something called the opening, right? So this I am writing about is giving it a perfect opening, and then you are stating the purpose instead of simply saying, see, I am writing, it is regarding this. Okay. Huh.
Okay.
All
Thanks.
right. Fine. So you have like a sample letter. This is one with a letter head. So obviously you're going to not see the from address aligned in the body of the letter. It is on the top because it's a letterhead. But look at the format, right? It very clearly matches with the other one. So you have the date and then the to address. Then you have the salutation, right? Body, they've not given the distinction of introduction, body, and conclusion, but you have to follow that. Okay. No, whether this is given in the representation or not, keep this in mind whenever you're writing something. You definitely need to follow the introduction, body, conclusion format. Okay, that's the basic structure. Any content, anybody who checks your work for the content will definitely look for the introduction, body, conclusion structure. Okay. Basic organization skills of writing is that having an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So that is there for this one. And then look at that, the last line, we hope that this letter will settle the matter once and for all. Okay. So this is what is called a closing remark. Like, I look forward to meeting with you, or I hope to see you soon. Okay. Closing statements, rounding off statements. So because you do not want to end the letter all on a sudden, it should not look like, it has come to an end all on a sudden. You use these kind of statements as rounding off statements. Now, the letter that he or she has written might have spoken about a particular topic. So this person's rounding off statement or the closing statement is based on that. You can also do that, right? But if it is not anything particularly about what you want to say, then in such cases, okay, when you do not have anything to round it off, then you can use the other ones, the ones that I talked about. Actually, you have a list of them like that, many. So let me just check if I have I should have it somewhere. I'll quickly look at it. It's just that. Not this one. Just a minute. I just want you to know what it is so that you not even this. Which one was this? Seven, six. Six, 7, 8. It's 4, 9. Yeah. Okay. Got it. So closing remarks, usually 4 of them. The most commonly used one is the future time focus, the ones that we discussed. Okay. I look forward to hearing from you soon, or I look forward to hearing from you next Thursday, next Tuesday, or on Monday in the afternoon, anything. Okay. You can replace that time phrase with anything. So one could be, I look forward to hearing from you. Then I look forward to meeting with you. I look forward to seeing you simply. Then I look forward to your reply. We look forward to a successful working relationship in the future. Okay, anything. there are many sentences that you can use like this, just in a combination here and there. I would appreciate your immediate attention to this matter. All of them are with respect to the expressions you use to refer to future time focus. Now, if your idea is to express gratitude, then the rounding off statement could be something like, I thank you for your help. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your assistance, or I thank you for your support. I really appreciate the help, or I really appreciate the time, assistance, support you provided me. I thank you once again for your help. And so all of them are functioning as closing statements. Okay. Then call for action. So like I told you, it is not always the case that, you only have thank you or something unpurposeful to say. Sometimes it is you expect the person to take some action on what you have written. So if that is the case, then you could see statements like, please call me to set a time for the meeting. Would you make an appointment with the manager? Okay, I hope you would. So in the case of letters, you can, this particular statement is very common. I hope you would take an action as early as possible, right? So this is one example. Or you could offer assistance. Offer assistance usually happens while you're writing email, but it can also be seen in letters. So if you require any further information, feel free to contact me. If you require any further information, please let me know, right? All of these are examples of closing statements, right, which can be used in the letters or emails as per whatever is the purpose of your letter and email. Okay, get that point? So I just wanted you all to have a understanding of what these things could be. Then the last part, as you see here, it's a complementary clause, right, which has sincerely yours. Signature is not necessary in all letters. If it demands, then you can. But what is important is your name and if you're writing for a company, then your designation and the company's address is very, very important. Okay. This much is then the overall format as well as the content that can go into a formal letter. Okay, understand? So you have a few examples here. Yeah, but what more importantly I wanted to talk to you about was the layout, right? So I told you about the business letter layout and the formal letter layout. So what happens generally for any formal letter, right? The one that are not business letters. Okay, business letters can also follow this format. So which is why I said general format. So general layout for any formal letter would be a block layout. What is a block layout? Look at this one carefully. Where do you see the information is aligned? Are they all aligned to the left? You see that? All information begins from the left. You don't see any space left anywhere, right? No space left in the beginning of a paragraph, nothing there. Every information, date to address, your subject, salutation, everything, till complementary clause and the signature block, all of them are aligned to the left. Do you see that? Right. So this kind of alignment, this layout is referred to as the block layout. And this is the most commonly used and the recommended layout for any formal writing, formal letters. Okay. Now, if you look at this one, okay, modified block layout is when only your date and your complementary clause shifts to the right side. Everything else remains on the left aligned part, right? But your date and your complementary clause, the last part where you sign off, right? That part and your date shifts to the right side. This is called the modified block layout. This is usually the layout that is used in the government letters mostly. Most of the government organizations prefer using this layout, right? It is also sometimes referred to as the semi-block layout, okay? Semi-block layout, but it's both are same, modified block layout and semi-block layout, both are same. What's the difference? For block, everything is aligned to the left, but for the modified one, the date and the complementary clause is aligned to the right side. Okay, so this is the major difference between business letters. Sometimes they prefer using the modified block layout. Okay, there are a lot of them which use the block one, but mostly you will see them using this modified block layout. It's also because look at that. This is again a letterhead. They have other things that they want to go into the letter. Like, they want to use their logos, their other details, all of them, typed in huge fonts, unlike an application letter that you write for a job or for getting a leave concession or something, right? Everything that the business world do is also in some terms marketing. So they are going to have all these additional things here, logos, names written in different type of fonts, big, okay, good enough for everyone to see. So because of the presence of these larger things on the, things that require more space and all in the letter that they write, they prefer using this one. Okay, so that the information doesn't look very crowded in the letter, or letter mostly, not email. Definitely does not give you that option, but mostly in the letter, they choose to write it in the modified block layout. Okay. More examples you have. So these are basically different types of letters. This one is for, okay, the difference in this one is that, if you're writing, yeah, is there someone trying to speak?
Yeah, Manish here. In the last format, salutation is before subject line. Is it okay?
Sorry?
In the last format, we will see that.
Yeah, this could be, somebody would have just given a representative, thing for this. So it may not completely follow the format that you have heard. But when you're writing, make sure that your salutation always is followed by the subject. The subject always comes first. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that is how it should be. That's the proper guideline. Write your salutation after you've written the subject line, right?
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so these are all, I'll share this, send this off as a PDF, so you can take a closer look at, different types of formal letters. So this one is for, money collection, initial collection letter. So in letters like this, which includes like orders and, money and all that, usually it will have some sort of a reference, like you see here. So REF, account 2130. So in such cases, you are identified more with your account number than your name, right? So these kind of letters, with the one which is related to some sort of finance or some sort of order and quotation purchase that you do, all of them, or if it's like sometimes even complaint letters come with references. So these kind of letters could have, in addition to everything else, you can have, this reference numbers put in them. You can also see reference numbers in, things like memos and notices and all that. All of those things which are like extremely official in nature, which require some sort of documentation and recording, will have reference, right? Appointment letters, relieving orders at a organization, if you see, all of them will have some sort of reference numbers on them, because these are all documented and filed, so they need to have some number, right? Okay, this one is also stern collection letter, same thing. Again, this one also has like a reference mentioned, right? In reply letters, the beginning sentence would always be something like, thank you for writing to us, right? If you're responding to someone at a business place, at a workplace, if it's an inquiry letter, you're responding to that. Usually, the first sentence that you use would be, thank you for writing to us, or thank you for your inquiry, something of that sort, right? So these kind of, set expressions, or these kind of sentences helps you organize your write-up better, okay? But like I told you, once you get good at it, you can come up with your own sentences. But until then, it would be a nice method to use the commonly used basic expressions, so that things don't go wrong from your side. Okay, so I'll send all of these to you. You can take your time, read it properly, and understand how they have presented the thoughts. But keep in mind, if they have some sort of shuffling in the order, the parts of the letter that we have seen, please ignore it. You need to only follow the one that I've discussed with you. Okay, strictly follow that order of representing your various fields from date, to address, subject and salutation, then the letter and the complementary clause. Okay. Don't let anything else interfere in between. Now, what is semi-formal letter? Semi-formal is written using formal language, but it is sent to people whom you do not know very well. So you know them, but you do not them so well. Because you know them, it is not an extremely formal situation, but then it's not like you know them so well that you can be informal with them. Like examples, bosses, teachers, principals, right? All of them, you know them, right? You have some acquaintance with them. However, it is not so informal that you can address them in whatever way you want. So these kind of letters, the letters that you write to them, people in this category are referred to as semi-formal letters. They follow the same format as that of a formal letter. Okay, it needs to be polite, same as in formal letters. It needs to follow an objective tone, an impersonal tone. It needs to be polite, right? Everything else that you have seen in the formal letters will be applicable here. With respect to what can you choose in a salutation or in a complementary clause in a semi-formal letter, every option that fits a formal letter will be good to go in this one too. Okay, so no much variation between them. The only difference is that the kind of people involved in this letter would be a little different from the previous one. Informal letters, we all know what, so no detailed discussions required. Personal letters, they are mostly, right? They can be written for conveying message, news, giving advice, congratulating, requesting information, anything on the face of earth. No specific format, okay? Personal, friendly, emotional tone, okay? Everything that is opposite to formal letters. Sorry. Job application letters, I'll just take 5 more minutes to finish this off so that you have a better understanding of the letter as a whole. So what do we do with job application letters? What is it? It is usually a document that you send along with your resume to provide additional information. So what happens, a lot of companies, they would just tell you, we just need a 1-page resume. Okay, don't write more than that. Just give quickly about the most relevant details of your job profile and send it to us. So 1 page is what they ask you for resume. But what do? They say you can send this 1 page, but then also send us a cover letter. So the cover letter is then that document where you can actually take up the space to explain and elaborate a little bit about what you have already mentioned in your resume in 1 point, right? So the function of a cover letter or a job application letter is exactly this: to add details, to give more depth and material and substance to what you have presented in your resume already. So this is intended to give detailed information on why you consider it. These things are very important. Okay, starting here, what all will you include? Why you consider yourself a qualified candidate for the job? Why? So that's the first question you will address in the cover letter. You must explain the reasons for your interest. Why are you interested in that specific organization? Okay, whichever company or organization you're applying, why you're interested in them. Okay, identify your most relevant skills. Don't write everything under the sun. Okay, only the one that you think is important and relevant to their job profile, the advertised job profile, should be talked about in detail, right? So it is about improving your chances of being selected or called for an interview. So only write what they are looking for. Don't write what you want. Write only the things that they are looking for. So let your employer or committee know what position. So this is also important. Very clearly mention what is the position that you're looking for. I'm applying to the post of, assistant manager, executive manager. Okay. Clearly write that. State it clearly in your application letter, right? So what position you're applying for, and then give them the supporting details of why you think you are a strong candidate, right? Then why they should select you for the interview and how you will follow up. What does how you will follow up mean? You will have to give your, how you're going to get back to them. So either you will have to leave, if you're comfortable leaving your contact details with them, then do that. Or you can just give them your email IDs. But do not submit a job application letter without telling the person how they should contact you. So give them follow-up details. Okay, either tell them that I would call and inquire about this later, or if you want them to contact you, please leave your contact number or your email ID, whichever one is convenient for you, along with the letter, right? Do not leave that part empty, or do not leave it while you are writing the letter. This is important. The body is very much similar to any formal letter. So it has an introduction which talks about why it is written, why the application is written. Body discusses the relevant qualification. Closing, you thank the reader and provide contact information and follow-up details, right? Simple. Now this is like a skeleton of how a cover letter looks. So look at that. How does it start off with? So your name, address. So this is the from address. Then the date of the letter, right? To address. This has skipped the subject, but you should add the subject. Okay, it's important. Then the salutation, right? First paragraph, what does it talk about? Tell why you are writing. Name the position or field or general vocational area about which you are asking, right? Which post are you applying to? Like, tell how you heard of the opening or organization, right? Where did you hear from? So I think these days when you submit forms and all, some people ask you, right? Where did you hear about this, right? Did you hear about this on a social media announcement? Were you contacted through a mailing list? Or did you see this as a internal publication internal publication in your department, right? Through your university website? They ask you questions like this, right? So the same thing needs to be included in the cover letter. Where did you hear about this? Okay, so that should be written. Second paragraph, like we discussed, you're going to mention all the relevant qualifications that you think would make you fit both for the job as well as the organization, right? All that comes in the second one. And the third one, like discussed, make a request for the interview. Ask them that you would like to come for the interview. If there is anything else that you want to add, like you think are relevant, right? If you have gained, say, a certification program in a particular skill that they are looking for from somewhere, right? Then you can talk about that you have done this particular thing and that you're going to enclose the certificate or details along with this letter, right? So if you have enclosures, please mention it clearly in the letter that you have enclosures, okay? So that they can look for one. And then, of course, as said before, please leave in your contact details and other information for them to follow up, right? And the complementary clause is the same. Sincerely, you write the complementary clause, your signature, your name, and a list of enclosures that they should find along with the letter. Okay, so you write enclosure and then put 1, 2, 3, write down 1, certificate for so and so course, 2, certificate for some other course, 3rd, some other enclosure, whatever you have added. Okay, so this is how usually a cover letter looks like. You can read through this one. This is by someone by the name Joseph Q. And now what Joseph has done is Joseph has a personalized letterhead. So this person has used their letterhead to write the job application letter. If you want to follow that format, well, that is also fine. But if you want to do it in the traditional formal letter way, even that is also good enough. Okay, so both are okay. And the date convention, please do not be confused again. You know, they have used a different one, but when you write, it should look like 1st September, that is 1 September 2018, right? Not September 1, 2018. Some people are okay with this convention, but the safer choice is to go by the date month year format. So everything is there, all fields that is required. Again, this person skipped on the subject. You will not, you will definitely include the subject in there. Okay. But rest of the fields, rest of the information that you are supposed to represent in a present in a formal letter is very clearly discussed here. All right. Any quick questions before we can close for today? Amitesh, Manish, what was this? Sarvation, and Priyanka. All good? Okay. If there are no questions, then we can close for today. And we'll discuss three things in the next class. We'll look at emails, memo, and notice. All of them are short, things. Email will not require a lot of discussion because a lot of it is very similar to letter also. Few things that we need to keep in mind, and we'll talk about that in the next class. Also, we will include the memo and notice. Okay, how they're different, or how different they are, or how similar they are. Both of them can be discussed in the next class. Okay. So thank you. If there are no more questions, then we can close for today. Okay, Amitesh, see you. Bye everyone. We'll meet in the next class.